So let's talk a little bit about the title tool. We went over that a while back. We'll go over it again. I want to show you how you can use some transitions within the title tool to kind of snap up your text a little bit. So here we have, we were playing around with this dog story, snore dog story, and there's a lower third that we made. And up here I want to make a title for the whole piece. So I'm going to put an in at the very beginning, going to go Command and put it there, Command to get me right at that point, and putting my titles on track 3. Remember, to see through a title, it has to be over some video, so you'll want it over there. And we're using a recommended workflow of text and titles on track 3, B-roll on track 2, and primary video on track 1. So here we go. Now, so to get to the title tool, 2 ways to do it. Go up to Tools, Title Tool Application, or there's the T down here. So let's just do it from the T. Either way will get you there. Now here's something you should look at. There were really 3 different title tools involved. Marquee, very fancy, title tool, and Title Pro is something new they started. But we're going to just because it's simpler to instruct, we'll deal with this title tool. Once you get that under your belt, you can move on to one of these other 2. So we're going to stay with title tool. Opens up this window, and we're sitting over black, so that's why we don't see anything. If we were sitting over a picture, you would see that underneath. As long as this V is selected. If you undo the V, then you have no picture there. It will be just solid black. Okay, we'll actually create a black background or a colored background if you want to click and change it. You can make a colored background if that's what you want to do. Okay, but I'm going to not look at that. We're going to look straight through. And once we have the T, we can write in what we want. And again, it's kind of like non-linear editing. Put in your content, your spelling first, and then adjust the font and the size. So we're going to call it Dog Story. Okay, very simple. And then once that's typed in, now I can adjust it. I hit the arrow. Notice how that creates this bounding box around it. I'm just going to move that over here a little bit. One thing I want to look at, it works pretty much like a simple word processor. Notice the B means bold. I do that, it gets unbolded. And what's the font? Comes up Geneva, pretty basic font. And there depends on the computer you're on. The computer's house fonts, so I may have fonts on my home computer that are not at house, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to make it a slightly thicker one. You'll notice it's justified to the side. Those are these items. I'm going to justify it in the center. And if I want to have the whole thing centered, well, first, let me adjust my size. Here there are some drop-down suggestions, but I also just highlight it and type it in, 0.60. You notice then it gets kind of smushed up. You have to rearrange the bounding box by grabbing onto one of these little points at the end. And I want to make sure that's in the middle, not off to the side, not off to the side for what I want to do. And I want to have that perfectly centered. And so I can do this for a while, or if I go up to alignment, center and frame horizontally, center and frame vertically, it will put it perfectly in the center. Now, maybe you don't want it perfectly in the center, but I do say that aligning it like that will give you, a starting point at least. Maybe you want it like, oh, I just want it lower, but I want to make sure it's kind of in the center. Okay, so you can do that, but there and there. And remember, we talked about these outside boxes. You really need to keep all your text within this outer box. All right, even though we're seeing it mostly on a computer, it's unless you're doing some kind of designy thing where you want words kind of half cut off, you want somebody to read it, make sure it's within this outer box. Okay, so that's there. Again, as long as I have, you can still see the little dots. That means whatever changes I make, I can change the color by clicking fill. Maybe I want it to have a little color to it, a little bluish. That's kind of nice. Okay, so let's say that. If I wanted to add a shadow, doesn't matter here because it's over black anyway, I would drag this out. All right, so that's your basic text that you can make in the title tool. How do we keep it? Well, you can actually go up to File, Save Title, or even if you just X out of the application. It's really, Avid Title Tool is a program within a program, just so you understand that. But let's save title. And it's a good idea to name these things. So I'll call it Dog Story. And I don't want to put it in sequences. What else do I have? Let's put it in stuff. That's a good place to keep titles, effects. These are things that you're creating. Possibly, depending on the computer you're on, it gets corrupted. Good idea to keep your sequence bin separate. You don't want things in there because if a sequence gets corrupted, everything is screwed. But you put it in a separate bin, you could always remake this title if it gets corrupted. Going to save it, make sure it's going to my drive. And there it is. Here it is in the source. Again, anything we remember like stills and this, you want to leave a little bit of room because maybe we want to dissolve or extend it. So we're going to go in a little bit. I have an in and out. This is where it's going to begin from. It doesn't matter. It's like 2 minutes worth of title. It's going to video 3. I'm going to overwrite that in. And there it is. I've muted it so we don't hear anything, so I can speak. And then there's that. And you can see it's 1 frame over, so we're going to want to trim that back. How do we trim it back? Well, that depends on having this quick trim tool here activated. It's highlighted, and then so when you're at the edge, you can click on it, and you go into this trim menu, and we'll go over a little of this in another lesson, I believe, getting a little more involved in the trim tool. So I clicked that, all right, making sure this was highlighted. Let me get out of that again, and if I undid this, and then I go there, there's nothing there. I see this arrow, I can undo that. Oh, nothing's happening here. Okay, so if I want to trim something back, I click this guy, and now you can see that little wing item. Once I click it, I can either drag this, and I'm going to bring it back a few frames. So holding down Command, and it's right there at the edge. And I click out elsewhere in the timeline, and I'm good to go. And there we go, nice and clean. But let's assume one of two things with the title tool. What if I want to change the title? How do I do that? Okay, you sit on the title, make sure the track that it's on is selected. So we have this kind of crosshair thing happening here, kind of like the game Battleship, if you ever played that. Click Effects, opens it up again, the Effect menu, and up here there's a little box that says Edit Title. Bet you that's it. So let's click that, and that will open it up. No, we don't want to persist to something else. And there we go. So now let's say I want to change the color. I'll double click the words. Notice when I highlight it, it goes to the opposite in the color wheel, but this is the actual color it still is. Now let's just say I want to go white, totally white with it. Thank you very much. And then I can click out of that. And there we go. So I've changed it. I've modified it. I could save it by just closing out of this. Save. Bump, 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 bump. And you'll notice it saved it right to the timeline, automatically changed it. And if we go back to edit, we'll see that it was put in here as well. into the stuff bin. So now that's one thing. Let's say rather than just have it there or fade up or fade down, we wanted to kind of slide in, right? A little effect. You can do that right within the title tool because basically it is in effect the title tool. So let's sit on it again, the right track, the right title, go to effects, and now we see this open up. And let's take this to the beginning. And now we have a keyframe here. We can start building things. Here's our position. Okay, and we have this in a reduced frame. Remember, it's not, we're making it smaller. We're just looking at it from further away. So I am going to take this, make sure it's at the beginning. Here it is. Here's the title section. And we're going to horizontally slide it off the screen. So there's what I was talking about. We can see how far over it is. That's where we'll start. That's our first keyframe. All right, click that there. And then we're going to make it come in very quickly. So I'm going to step ahead, in about, I think 5 frames, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's going to happen there? Put another keyframe, and on that keyframe, we're going to slide it back here to the 0 position. Okay, right in the center. There we go. So what's that about? Let me go back to the first keyframe. It's off. I play it. Dog story. Okay. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Go back into the edit mode. And let's play it and see. So it starts off screen, comes in, and in that case it cuts, but we're dealing with effects. Let's go to the quick transition mode. In this case, I want it to be at the ending at cut. It's going to be, make it 20 frames, so 20 frames before it will fade out. Target drive is my hard drive, add and render, and let's take a look. Dog story. And there we go. Okay? So that's how you can add some motion within the title and have it move in to place, or maybe you wanted the title to grow bigger. And so that again was something we can do within the title. So let's say it zooms in, and once it's at that spot, then we want it to get larger. Let's go in the middle here. So I'm going to click. We'll have it come in, go to the next keyframe, but then we're going to have it sit there just for a little bit. And then once it sits there, so this is the same position, off, on in the center, staying in the center, and then we're going to have it move forward. Just kind of eyeball it, say somewhere around here. Put another keyframe and have it moving forward by scaling it larger, like that. So it'll slowly move forward. Let's go back to that first keyframe and play it. One, and it comes forward. So I think that's kind of cool, but I want it to come forward slower. How can I make it slower? By putting a greater distance between this position and that position. Highlight that keyframe. You highlight it, it becomes pink. Hold down the Option key. The Avid gives me the finger. And once I get the finger, I can grab it holding down the Option key and move it down further away I go. This way it'll go here and then sit there for a little bit. Let's take a look at what that looks like. By clicking it here in the timeline, I'll exit the effect mode to a degree anyway. Still in the effect mode. Let me go back and play it. And there we go. Nice thing and nice. Very nice. So that was pretty quick to put a little pizzazz to it. Okay, I bet you know who that is? Right, Andrea Ramos. So if we wanted to add something to our friend Andrea Ramos, let's go there. Let's remove this first. If we look at the timeline here, let's remove that dissolve transition. Get to remove effect. Good. And now we're going to sit on it. Go into the effect mode. Make sure we're at the beginning of the text clip. There we are. Going to put a keyframe there. Put in our keyframe. And we're going to have it drop down. So the first one, it will be off. Let's move it vertically off screen. And then we want it to quickly drop down. So I'm going to add 5 frames. Boom. And bring this, if I click it, the 0 button, it will go back because 0 is the default position. So now it's going to be there. Let's see what happens. Boom. I'm Andrea Ramos. Okay, so a little something cute there. Have that come in that way. And again, you know, this is just demonstration. You can do what you like. You can have it zip off then instead of, let's just go through that. I'm going to take away that last dissolve that was previously there. Go back in, click the effect, and I'm going to go to the end first. I'm going to go to the end, put in a keyframe there, and I'm going to go back 5 frames, 3, 4, 5 or so. So we have this keyframe, so that it's off the screen, comes on the screen, sits there for all this time, and then we're telling it, okay, we're going to pick up from here and then go away. In this keyframe, I'm going to have it drop down further, vertical position, go off. Now, so let me show you what that looks like. This is what I want. Happen. Come down, she's Andrea Ramos, and go down. So you might ask yourself, why am I putting in this extra keyframe? I already have it sitting here. So let me show you what happens if I don't put this in. I'm going to delete that. And here we have the beginning, she's off, right? Here it is up here. Here it is up here. The next keyframe, it's here. And the last keyframe, it dropped down enough so we don't see the writing. So that should be what we want, right? Let's take a look. Play it. Ah. See, it doesn't hold. It goes from one position to the other to the other. So I have to have it hold. How do I get that back? Well, I guess at this point I could Command Z. Or if I click this, making sure that's highlighted. Remember, the keyframes have to be highlighted in pink to make sure you're dealing with that keyframe. I'm going to go Command Copy, Command C, and then I'm going to go about here and Command V to paste it. So this keyframe is the same as this. I copied it, I put it here. So what that does is that when it drops down, it sits there because it's going from the same keyframe to the same keyframe. Sits there, sits there, sits there, boom, goes to the next keyframe and drops off. And if I wanted to make that a little bit longer, again, I click that keyframe, give myself the finger by pressing the Option key, and maybe dragging it back a little bit. A little bit. Let's go over to the edit mode for a little bit. And let's see all that we've done here. Okay, dog story. Hi, I'm Andrea Ramos, and I have a dog on my lap, and it's biting my wrist, and there it goes. Okay, so there's stuff that you can apply some movement, some motion to your text.